Public meeting of the West Bend School District and School Board Curriculum Committee. It is 4:39 p.m. on May 5th of 2026, and we will start with introductions. My name is Melanie Ergott, School Board Member.
June Kruger, School Board Member.
Kelly Lang, School Board Member.
Kelly Downs, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Tina Van Roo, District Data and Assessment Coordinator.
Adrian Schneider, Program Administrator.
Erin Faust, Curriculum Coordinator.
All right, the first item we have up for discussion today is the Alternative Education Curriculum Cycle Update, and that will be presented by Jill Corbett.
Hello, everyone. As you said, I'm here today to kind of review and go over where our committee landed on the online resource and to make a recommendation. Oop. Nope. I'm sorry. Oh, that's fine. Okay. So when we came in February, we had shared that our goal this year is to really relook at our online curriculum for grades, primarily looking at 6 through 12. Right now, our current platform is only grades 9 through 12 is what we have access to, but we did want to try to expand it in order to help with some of our alternative education. Our main reason what we use this online platform for is for credit recovery, some of our alternative education, and then virtual learning pathways, sorry. And some of those include, so people are like, what is different than WBVA? This is more for like on those moments of like a medical emergency where kids are getting homebound instruction or need like a little mini time slot at home that they might have to have access in a different pathway, and we can customize classes too. So it's different than an actual all semester long. One of our biggest things that we're looking for is a program that's flexible with pacing, is able to help a variety of learners, really looking at is there ability to differentiate, customize curriculum to really match our standards and what our skills we're working on specifically with students. We are always looking for platforms that help with different reading levels as well as multi-language. One of the biggest things that we have come to really realize is that student-centered design to promote engagement and ownership. And what we mean by that is something that holds their engagement. Not long, drawn-out platforms, but quick learning snippets that they can then demonstrate some learning with after. We are seeing our children's learning styles change, and we want to change with it. The team that came this semester to really look at platforms, look at our RFI, really try to determine where we are at as a district and direction we want to go. I'm not going to read everyone off, but it included curriculum and instruction, administration from both alt ed and the high school, as well as a plethora of staff in our alt ed world, including not only teachers, but some of our instructional techs. Basically, we wanted anyone who really right now works on the platform and has access with kids to help them. We wanted feedback from all of them. This just gives a little bit of an outline of what our process was. So between September and November, we really started discussing, like, for the last couple of years, we've been kind of looking and saying, we're just not super happy with it. Are we getting the results that we really want? And we decided, like, maybe it's time we do look outside. Is there anything out there that we're really looking at as that might be better? So in December, we started having some conversations with a new company, which really is what sparked this. We started looking at a different platform and saying, like, hey, there are some things out there that might meet needs better, and that learning style we've been talking about, which is more smaller snippets of learning and then demonstrating that learning in a different way. In January, we had decided to try to pilot and go for RFI out to see what else was out there. The pilot that we decided to look at was called Subject, and really that was to give a deeper level of platforms that we thought could meet the needs of our students. Between January and May, our team really sought to get feedback from the teachers specifically. We surveyed the students as well that were using both platforms and or either platform to really kind of say, what do you like, what do you not like, what are you engaged in? We had presentations from 2 different vendors. We allowed staff to view students and parents if they wanted to view the platforms. We put out letter access to our parents. And ultimately, our committee met on a monthly basis to really kind of deep dive into the platforms, what we liked, what we didn't like, and really move through the process. In May, we are coming here for the recommendation. We did come to a conclusion last week as a committee on what we wanted to do as for our recommendation. With that being said, I want to give you just a little bit of feedback from our team. Our first platform is our current platform, and it's called Imagine Edgenuity. We have had Imagine Edgenuity for, I believe, about 15 years. We've had it for quite some time. And they do have a large catalog, which has always been one of the positives of it. They do have a nice monitoring tool that can go out to families and for students. You are able to customize content and like specialize the programming. Where we think it falls a little flat for us is the platform is basically a multiple choice platform. Videos are very long. They're very informative, which we're happy about. They're very long in content. So when we seek feedback from staff and students, what we're noticing is that even in a class period, students are not able to finish one full lesson because it is such a long informational component. So we're trying to think like, as a student, are you coming back the next day and trying to remember that 45-minute video that you were watching to be able to now demonstrate learning? Should it be smaller? Should they be able to do a different way to demonstrate learning besides multiple choice? And that's kind of some of the big pieces we were concerned about in the last couple of years. It is a more cumbersome setup and needs pretty extensive training for staff that are utilizing it. And ultimately, we are not sure we're getting the outcome that we want as far as kids are leaving using this platform more prepared to go back into the classroom. And that's really a big piece that we want. We want kids to feel they have learned and the skills necessary to go on to the next class and be back into a classroom platform. That's always our goal, is to be back in in-person classes. The platform that we piloted and we really took a deeper dive into this last semester was called Subject. And some of the stuff that we found were a little more pros on our end for student learning is much more higher engagement in the content, lot shorter videos, and then the demonstration of learning is not just multiple choice. There's interactive videos where you're matching things up. There's a lot of written responses. You having to give the reason why you believe an answer is correct, like a little deeper level of thinking. And we just felt that that was more of what we are looking for students, to go to that deeper level to demonstrate their knowledge. It also prepares them to go back into the classes where they're going to be expected to do the same thing. We like that the platform flags if a student is struggling. It is also, again, it has a course catalog that hits all of our core content, including AP classes and electives. This platform is not just high school. It is a site license platform, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but it would be able to be accessed by our middle school 6 up. It has multilingual supports where the classes can actually be in. They have right now, I want to say it's 8 different languages that we could tap into that they could get their learning through. It is a very easy platform to navigate, both on the educator end and on the student end. and it will connect to our Skyward system to be able to give in-moment grading to our parents. So they will always know where the student is at a stance. Cons, it does have a little smaller catalog right now than Edgenuity, but it does have all the core classes that we have right now currently at our high school that we would want kids to be actively engaged in. It is a new platform, so it is going to be a learning curve. We are going to have to take some time and make sure we're doing some professional development with our staff. It does take the teachers a little bit longer because there are written responses in there that are being checked, and we want the teachers to be able to check. So it's going to be a little more cumbersome at first until teachers figure out how to integrate themselves. However, I will note that when we asked teachers about that, they were okay with it. They were willing to say it's needed because it allows them to have that conversation with students and really that mini learning as well. The other things that we're working with the company on is if there's any way to have like a digital checklist for students of it to make available where they have like a check off of activities, just that visual. We as a staff can do that ourselves, but it is sometimes nice to have it built into a platform. When I look at a cost analysis, right now this is our current quote that we would have. Our contract right now is for Imagine Edgenuity actually ends June 30th. So right now, for our next 3-year contract that they gave us, you can see they tend to do in a 3-year cost because they will give you a little bit of a cost savings if you do a 3-year cost, but we broke it down to what that would mean per year. Right now, we pay for in a couple different lanes, so it kind of broke it up. Imagine EdgeX is the whole platform, but they don't give this, there's like specialty learnings for some students that are struggling readers. It's not built in. You have to purchase it separately and you purchase license, as well as our juvenile detention center purchases separate license because it is per building, not site. So right now it is purchased just separately for East and West High School and then separately for juvenile detention center. So ultimately, if you cut it down to what it is the 3-year cost for the district and then looking at more of what it is per year, it comes to about $43,568. For subject, we asked for a 1 year to just get an idea of what it would be. And they have what's a whole district license. So what you do is you're basically paying for licensures, but anyone in the district can use it. So they do have classes from 6th grade up. So again, it doesn't need to be just in one spot, which means it can be shared at the Juvenile Detention Center, Badger, Alt Ed, East and West High School. It can be shared. The concurrent license means that a student, so there's 140, one license, a student can participate in as many classes as they would like. It's still one license at that time. That yearly cost would be $47,600. So very close to each other. I'll just go to put it side by side. Very close for a yearly cost analysis. Again, the difference is, and I'd just like to highlight this, right now in Imagine Edgenuity, we do not have access for our middle school. And I'm not saying we're using it in a ton, but it is nice to have it as an option for alternative education and for some of those oddities that just fall outside the range, like a medical condition piece. Where subject is a 612 platform, and it is site, so you can use it throughout your whole district. Our recommendation at this time, we believe it is kind of time for a change. We would like to try something different. We believe after the reviews and feedback from students, from teachers, committee members, we really believe this kind of is a superior solution for our students and staff. And it's a direction that we are moving in as a district in our core classes. We want higher student engagement. We want that modern design where there's mini quick learning videos that are more engaging. It has a lot of AI support tools, so kids with any questions can ask questions in the moment if they're not understanding a vocabulary concept. There's also a very supportive right now model between the company and the district. And That is not the number one driving, but we know that with that partnership, they will be in this with us to help make sure this platform goes successfully. We just believe that it's time for a transition and change, and it's time for trying to do a different learning platform and hope to have better results and get our kids back into that mainstream environment. If we go forward with subject, I just want you to know that we know there's going to need to be some training ahead. Again, we've been using this for a long time. Due to the pilot, we do have some staff. Again, it's a pretty easy platform, which has been fantastic. They've also been very interactive on answering questions coming in for training. They actually flew here from California to train staff this year. We will continue that in August. They're part of the cost price of the platform would include continued PD for the school year. So in August, they would come again out to do some uploading, training, making sure our technology is where it needs to be and connected to our system. And then we would also be working throughout the year on our PD days that we would have virtually at least 1 hour with a trainer from the subject platform to work with our entire alternative education staff for any questions, updates, new things they want to kind of try, and just have that opportunity to directly work with their company. Collaboratively, teachers in alternative ed would also be utilizing some of their district time after school to make sure that we are doing updates and check-ins with each other and utilizing our PLC platform to try to touch base at least on a monthly basis, if not more often. So we believe that subject represents not just a platform upgrade, but a shift towards a student-centered engagement-first model of online learning that is better aligned with how today's students learn. We are confident this transition will better serve our students, particularly those in credit recovery and underserved communities. Again, we know that this is not our number one platform we want to use. We know that the classroom first. However, we do have students that are in alternative educational sites and/or don't have that option, and we want to make sure that our resource is providing them with the educational opportunities of all the other students. Any questions?
All right, thank you for your presentation. Now, was this the one that you had mentioned that the original platform maybe didn't have as good of online type of, like their web-based stuff was like subpar compared to like where this new one is?
Yeah, so the videos are specifically what we're talking about. So in Edgenuity, the videos are quite long, like usually ranging between 30 minutes and an hour, and which our students just, that's hard to maintain that attention to one thing without asking some type of question to check for learning, right? As well as like sometimes it's just being spoken at. The subject their videos are very AI generated, where there's a teacher teaching, but there's like chalkboard in the back and they're working out a problem, or there's an experiment going on and they're actually doing the experiment and demonstrating it. Sure. So it's a lot more
engaging,
interactive.
Yeah.
And typically the videos for subject are between 3 and 15 minutes. So before they are asked to demonstrate some learning or get some feedback and if they're understanding.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask about the budget. It's a little bit more expensive than the other one, but I'm assuming that that's all been discussed with the finance department and there's money in the budget to do that.
We do, because we're sharing it again with 3 different platforms. So it is a little bit different, being that it's not just high school owned.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have questions or comments?
Just 1 year, you're going to test out 1 year to see if it's the right fit, or are you doing a multi-year contract, or what are your thoughts?
So my recommendation would be to do a 1 year. Again, we did pilot it this year and it's gone really well. So we have pretty good confidence in that instead of like starting fresh. But I will say that I think we would love to do a 1 year and just see, again, is the full implementation as good as the pilot, just to make sure, and then I will say though, I think we know that we want to do multiple years in order to really make a difference and see a difference and get our kids, because we know you're going to go through that new challenges. But the company is okay with a 1 year at a time and discussing the next.
All right, so my thoughts on this are a little neutral in that
Yeah.
what I hear you saying is we feel there's a time that we're interested in a change. We think that this is going to be a good tool. And so when those hit my ears in a way that if I were to try to persuade someone at my office, like, I feel like we just want to try out this new tool and we feel it's time for change, I would get some pushback. I just advise that we're not chasing another tool.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like, so I wanted to.
No, that's very fair. I appreciate that feedback. I think, June, I don't want to run our current thing down because there's some good pieces to it. What we really do not like is that the only feedback that kids can give is multiple choice. There's no other option. It's a multiple choice platform. So you are constantly not seeking that deeper level rich thinking, right? And the last 2 years, we have continuously tried saying, like, that just doesn't feel great. We don't like it. We know it's not best for learning. We know we want to dig deeper. We want them to be able to explain answers and give the reasons why and really be able to explain answers. I will be honest, it's a daily thing also, trying to get kids to not be looking up answers, trying to find answers, and just because it's multiple choice. There's been some things on Edgenuity that has helped, like lockdown browsers and things like that during assessments, but not during the work. So trying to, like, again, navigate that as well, where when you are not answering multiple choice and you actually have to answer a written response, it's a lot harder to cheat, in essence, right? And that's kind of where we're at. We're like, we want deeper level thinking. We want these kids to be able to not just be like, I don't know, A, B, C, and you can retake work that you don't score 60% or higher. Are they retaking it and learning? Are they doing something different? Where subject allows us, if they didn't understand the first time, the teacher can actually supplement a mini lesson and put in another, like, learning tool to show and demonstrate learning, so that you could be over here on the side and working with the student and then kind of upload that into the program to show this didn't work, but we did this, like, to show and demonstrate learning. We don't have that opportunity in Edgenuity right now. We sure can do it on the side, but nothing to then put it into the platform to show it. It's hard because students are completing credits, and I'm not going to say they're not, but are they completing credits and are they more prepared for the classroom? We are feeling that that is not always happening. We hear kids give feedback on, well, I don't mind Edgenuity, it goes quicker for me. Is it going quicker because you're learning, or is it going quicker because that's the platform? And we don't want that to happen. I want you to, if you took English 2 on this platform, I want you to be able to go in English 3 and feel confident in your skills. And that's where we are not feeling it's matching where our needs are. If we used it just for credit recovery and we were doing just the platform of maybe this one skill wasn't done, I think we would feel okay with Edgenuity. Because we have used it a little bit more in our alternative education and they're using it for the entire class and the credit, we want it to have a richer educational experience. And we're not getting that. So that is kind of why we started looking at other platforms. Subject was the first one we saw that was a lot deeper, richer, and the answers were not multiple choice. You had to actually respond and seek to understand.
And I think you mentioned earlier, like, this might be a medical situation where it's a short term.
Some of them are, yes.
Okay, some of them, okay. So I think you were asking for 140 concurrent licenses. Is that going to be, like, how many students use it now? And is that going to cover the amount of students who might need it for a short or longer term?
Yep. So we had to kind of do an estimate of what we've been utilizing in the last 3 years, is what we kind of looked at. It's different every year, obviously, so that's a little hard. I also had to kind of take an estimate of how many are we using right now currently at our juvenile detention center, how much are we utilizing currently with alt ed, and then credit recovery. Our team believes this will cover us. We actually probably went on maybe a little bit on the higher end. When I asked the company about that, they said mid-year you can kind of adjust if it's too low or too high, because you will have a better idea once you're going to that. We have been in the site license end, so we haven't been counting every single student because we had a site license. So that is a shift for us. So like I said, we had to kind of go back and like, how many licenses were we using in this platform? How many do we estimate to use in this platform? And then again at a different site. So we believe between the middle school, the high school, juvenile detention center, the combination of alternative education and credit recovery at the high school, we believe this will cover us.
All right. It looks like there's not any further questions, so I thank you for your presentation, and then I think we'll see this before the board at a future meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
I also want to point out that this would be something that would need to go to the board next for like either consent or for discussion and approval.
Okay. All right, so the next item up for discussion today is the 6th through 8th English Language Arts Curriculum Cycle Update. And Chrissy Steinhaus and Kelly Downs will be presenting this.
Before we jump into this, I just want to point out once again, this phase of that they are currently in the curriculum cycle was resource review. We began this work last July with a team that ranged from the 6th grade through the 10th grade, essentially, looking at the core program of that time frame. They were placed into that as we began our curriculum cycle. They were placed there based on the analysis that was done in 2023-24. As we looked at it, it had covered many of the points that were in evaluate phase of our current cycle. So that's, after analyzing that data, that's how they got placed there. They went through all of the steps, and as we got further in, as I recently told you in our board update, we have decoupled the teams from 9, 10, and 6, 8. Because as we got further into it, it was becoming apparent that 9, 10 just needed further discussion. So middle school was ready to come forward, and that's why Chrissy's here tonight to present to you where they came from. We will talk about consensus in this, and I just want to point out also that consensus was made with just the 6-8 team, even though the 9-10 members of that resource review team were present. They did that, but since it wasn't a full recommendation, we just had the people who it was affecting be part of that consensus. One more thing about when we do the consensus votes, while I'm there, administrators are there, we do not vote. It has to be from that teacher team that makes that consensus. So I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody. Okay, and then in this phase, our main goal, anytime we're bringing curriculum forth, this is the goal. We want to ensure our primary curriculum sources provide all students and teachers. And that's important, the opportunity to achieve at high levels. We've talked about this once before. While we're looking at students, teacher resources can help build teacher capacity. It can help them build their instructional repertoire. It can help them build understanding of concepts. In fact, just recently we had some math teachers share that with us that, I didn't realize I have a deeper understanding of this concept now from using the resource. There's a lot of opportunities with this. That's why we have that teacher piece in there, because we want to always be growing our teachers as well. So this is data we had presented last time. This is kind of a composite of that, or rather a summary of these things. If you follow the grade bands down, you can see 6th grade to 7th grade, that's a cohort, 67.7 to 66.3. as you follow those down diagonally, you can see that we're either holding steady-ish or declining. And again, I'll bring this back over and over, 80% is that indicator of a healthy, strong, robust, universal instruction. And while these aren't, too far off, we aren't growing enough. So that's what was the impetus to bring us to this point, or part of it after much of the analysis. I want to talk to you about high-quality instructional materials before we jump into this. So the whole resource review piece is about choosing high-quality instructional materials, and that's an actual acronym. And I want you to understand what they are. They are materials that are explicitly designed to meet the full depth and breadth of state and national standards. I don't know if you've ever taken a look at those standards, but when you read a standard, sometimes it's not as clear-cut as to what is that rigor level and how do we approach it and what does it mean and how do we get all of our things to fully represent the spirit of and the integrity of that standard. So these materials are designed for that. They also ensure that every lesson targets explicitly required grade level skill. And that grade level skill is important. Like, we know it's representing that standard at the proper level. The evidence-based pedagogy, they're developed through extensive research and cognitive science, how students actually learn best. What we're bringing forth for you today, we have some of the experts in the field have worked on this particular resource, from expert in literacy to experts in how do we support multilanguage learners to how do we support our diverse reading level learners and things like that. It gives us all those points. And this has also been reviewed by outside sources. So like in Ed Reports, they do a year-long review and it met expectations. We have white papers. We have all these research that have been done on this. That would be different for high-quality instructional material versus one that hasn't been. And in this case, it also, for ELA, we're going to include that alignment with the science of reading. We have with Act 20, K-5, they have experienced the science of reading now. This would give us alignment with those types of science of reading and structured literacy practices that need to come all the way through. Coherence and logic, this is huge. A lot of the recent studies are showing more and more how important coherence is to a scope and sequence, so that it's not just we're learning this and we're learning that and we're learning this. Everything is connected to build that knowledge base, and that it's logical, and that allows students to form the mental connections that we need to have that lasting learning, and not just a short term, I have it now, but I don't have it tomorrow. Those connections are super important. And then access. That high quality piece also must include built-in scaffolds. So for visual learning, it's different language routines so that multilanguage learners, students with disabilities can have access to the materials, to that same rigorous content, and not just being pulled out and out of that universal instruction. We want them to participate in universal instruction and have a way to doing that at a meaningful level. These materials have those built in so that they can do that. And why? High quality instructional materials really matter in ELA. They matter in everything, but this is going to be a little bit more specific to ELA. It is linked to stronger outcomes. It matters as much as instruction. I know there's some thoughts that only the teacher matters, and the teacher matters. Instruction matters. What we do with instruction is very important, but quality curriculum is another lever that matters almost as much, if not more so in some cases. It is a primary catalyst for student growth. By shifting the focus from basic skills to deep knowledge-based literacy, it takes them deep and robust learning. Instructional consistency, it ensures access to grade level work. It is common without high quality instructional materials to be teaching below grade level. This kind of helps prevent that. It reduces gaps that can be created from that type of low rigor. Teacher time. It cuts hours that teachers plan in planning and searching, and the materials I have don't have this or that, and now every night I'm having to dig stuff up. That takes away from a teacher's focus on meeting the needs of students, right? If I have something that is a quality resource to start with, I have the resources right at my fingertips. They say that this is equivalent, having a high quality resource is the equivalent of 3 years for a teacher's experience. So if I take a new teacher and I give them a high quality resource, it has the experience of that teacher being in education for 3 years. So it accelerates the learning for the teacher. Strong instruction, you get built-in complex text and aligned tasks. If you look into research, it shows that one of our challenges is that we're not giving kids enough complex texts. This would ensure that. And it supports the consistent standards-based instruction, and our vertical alignment prevents those gaps and repetition. When you start looking vertically, how often are we teaching the same skill over and over without moving it to the next level? Or how many things have we skipped and aren't woven together? Like when you think about ELA, how they have speaking and listening standards, they have writing standards and reading standards. In a high quality instructional material, those would all be together as they move along. Here's just some of that research that I'm citing for you. This is some of the places that comes from. These 3 ideas that high quality instructional materials for 5 consecutive years, when you use those for 5 years, they score about 24 percentile points higher than those who do not. Quality curriculum is a primary driver of student growth. That's what I mentioned before. Often outperforming class size reduction. Oftentimes we think, oh, we just need a smaller class size, and well, that's nice. This is more impactful. And improving curriculum is 40 times more cost effective than other common school interventions. When we start looking at how do we improve students' learning, this is a very cost-effective and effective manner of doing so. With that, I'll hand it over.
So how did we get to today? We started in September this year looking at our rubric creation. We spent September and October creating that rubric, making sure that it meets all of our needs and our desires for a really quality curriculum for 6 through 12. We also used Ed Reports to take 25 possible curriculums and narrow it down to 11. Of those 11, we sent out our RFI, and we got our 6 that are displayed up there. And that's when we utilized our rubric. Ultimately, the process of taking 25 to 6 was a 4-month process. It wasn't overnight, and it certainly was a lot of time spent with our curriculum team. Ed Reports was a huge part of it. They are an independent, research-based evaluation company that really allows us to ensure that the curriculum that we're spending time with was rigorous, aligned to our standards, as well as worthy of a classroom time and our time when we went to the rubric. The rubric itself, we combed through those 6 all throughout December. We met several times and spent hours looking through painstakingly at all of the standards that we value as educators to make sure that the choice that we were going to make, that we were going to put in front of the larger ELA team as well as you, hit everything that we were really looking for. And the staff engagement was key for us. We had our curriculum team, which was vast. It was a large team. But we also wanted to really make sure that we included all of the ELA department from 6 through 12, whether they are on the team or not. So we kept them informed, and we showed them the final 2, which was the HMH into literature and Savas, My Perspectives. Overall, they won leaps and bounds above the other 4 curriculums for us, and it was a clear choice. We presented that to the team in December, and then we spent January, February, and March as a larger ELA team going through what those 2 curriculums offered. In February, we had vendors that came and spent some time going through selling their products to us. But we also sent teams to Grafton, Port Washington, and Fond du Lac to look at how it was actually functioning. And we wanted to pick schools that were not in the first year of implementation, but ones that were, on their second or third year. Those teams not only observed the classroom in action, but they also debriefed with the teachers and admin, and then they debriefed as a team, again, bringing it back to everyone from 6 through 12. Then in March, we went through a couple during our PD days. We had everybody, all the 6-12, not only look at the text to see if they're viable for our grade levels, but also the skills taught. We had them look through units and look at the skills taught in a unit. How did it roll out? The assessments to really make them very aware of the options so that they could give us an opportunity to fill out the consultation survey. Everyone filled out that survey, 6 through 12, and ultimately the consensus was pretty clear. 75.9% of the staff overall feels that the My Perspectives is a stronger fit for our district, and they also felt that it would have the greatest impact with our student learning. So we would love to recommend to you for recommendation for at least 6 through 8, My Perspectives. One more slide here to talk just really about how did we get there. After we got the consultation, after all of the work that everyone has done, all of our PD days, and outside of the instructional time as well, every building had access to this curriculum, both the physical copies as well as the digital. And we just went in and looked and tore this all apart, and we're really excited about My Perspectives in the long run. Has very strong writing instruction, which is something that has not always been the greatest in our current curriculum that we have. Students practice writing continuously, not just at the end of a unit, which is kind of how we feel right now. Skills are developed over the course of the unit. They roll into the next skill and next skill. It's rigorous, it's aligned with the science of reading, which is really important for us in making sure that we are aligning with our K-12, or we're ready for the kids that are coming up to us. It emphasizes real reading strategies for complex texts, builds morphology, syntax, background knowledge, all of the things that science of reading is saying is important for our curriculum to have. Explicit systemic approach to skilled reading. Again, aligning to the K-5 was another important piece of this. All of the programs itself did align to science of reading, but we really think that this was really blew our socks off with a lot of components. Assessments that drive instruction. The selection tests that they give throughout support previewing and reviewing the small groups. The summative assessments are directly aligned with the entire unit. And there's built-in opportunities for reteaching. So as we're going through a unit and someone's identifying in their classroom that, we just finished this story, we took a couple of different formative assessments, and we're just not ready yet. There's a lot of support that is already built in for us to make sure that we're getting ready for that summative assessment at the end. Tons of teacher support and coaching, clear guidance for instructional decision-making, and stronger coaching supports for implementation. The other big piece to this is support for all learners. Our special education team and our multilingual EL teachers are really excited about what this means for them. Currently, right now, there really isn't that alignment, and they are just building as they go. This is something that they're very excited about. And differentiation is embedded throughout the core instruction throughout. Lastly, of course, we have our evidence-based design and revision history. So one of the things that we as a district have always valued is backward design. It's something that we've always done when we look at our curriculums and over the years. And so it is backward design. They look at the standards and then they make sure that the instruction and the assessments along the way are going to build to that outcome. It's grounded in research. We're very excited when we see some of the names that were on the inside of the cover. Very exciting to see a lot of the experts that they bring in for this. It's built around complex, high-quality texts that require students to use evidence and develop knowledge across topics, and it's regularly updated. We're going to be getting the 2027 version if this is approved, and that's just within 2 years. They've taken the teacher feedback and the implementation of their last curriculum, and they've said, let's improve this. So it's evolving state standards and expectations. They take a look at that and improvement of the digital tools, which also is a really nice feature of the program.
So I wanted to speak to the text selections. We did, as Chrissy spoke to, we had a day where teachers looked through, we divided and conquered, and they looked through every single selection that was within these resources. And they would mark it as no concerns or for further review. From there, we had a team at CNI, and we went through and marked it as no concern and further review from what they had flagged. And then we had a collaborative time where we did either approved it for use, or approved with conditions, or not approved. And generally, like, there was so many text selections that met our policy, that met our thresholds, things like that. So there's plenty for us to use. And we know novels are really important to be using. Our teachers really feel strongly about that as well. So we wanted to make sure, how many novels do we have to choose from? Do they also meet all of the things? And we have identified novels that are already approved that were in our book club process. They're available already in large quantities. We currently use as a whole class, so we started with those. But we did a deeper review, and we determined which ones needed further review, which ones could meet that NA requirement, because that shift from book club used with a small amount of kids versus whole class is a different idea, a different policy. And so we knew we needed to have an NA. So we looked through all of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Every single level has multiple novels to choose from. So they will have options for what they want to use. For the public viewing, we had materials displayed from Monday, March 18th through April 1st. We had one recorded individual, and no one provided feedback via the survey. So whenever we're talking about implementation, we have it's really, really important that we support our teachers as they take this on. As a reminder, we have a 3-year implementation cycle, and that's really intentional. Your first year teachers are going to just be learning, what are the units, what are we doing, how does this work? Second year, they kind of get their feet wet. And third year, they have a better idea of what they're doing. So those 3 years are important to support them to launch the curriculum properly. Even when you have a high quality instructional material, if you don't do this properly, it can completely fall apart and not be used to maintain the integrity of that resource. So while we don't know the specifics, because right now we are still gathering feedback from the teachers about how do you want this to look, do you want it in August, do you want it during PD, like how do you want this to actually look and what works for them? We are gathering that feedback right now. But generally it falls into these 3 categories of initial training. They need to know, like, how does it work? Where are my features? And we like to give them time to plan that first unit so that they can come in the school knowing they've already got one done, and they can start working on the second one and feel a little bit ahead of the game. Professional development throughout the year. Savas offers implementation essentials. They have some program-specific workshops. We've talked about, do we do like math where they get 4 release days in addition to the PD days to make sure that they have all their units covered and they have time to collaboratively work through this? Again, we'll see what teacher feedback says on that. And then coaching, this is really important. The coaching at this time, we'd like them to have at least 2 sessions of coaching, but I want to be really clear because this is not a time for evaluation. This is not where they're going to sit in the classroom and watch a teacher teach. This is where they're going to plan with them. They're going to co-teach with them. They will model a lesson. The time that would be where they are sitting and watching is if the teacher says, hey, I'm ready, would you please watch me now and give me feedback? But the other two components are really what's part of implementation. And then we have administrators, we have to get them involved in how this is working, this new resource. So they would participate in 2 learning walks, they would have some initial training as well. So preliminary costs, again, these are preliminary. The business office negotiates all of this, but these are the initial numbers that we have. To note there, in year 1 and year 3, if we did a 1-year contract or a 3-year contract, when we purchase novels of 1 novel per student per year, we would have to pay for that. And so those numbers reflect that. If you do a 6-year contract, they include 1 complimentary novel per student per year, which means that every year we'd be adding a different novel. So at the end of 6 years, you would have 6 different novels already ready to go. So this is where we are right now on 5.5 recommendation. We are recommending that we put forward Savas to the board. We had hoped to go on the 11th and then to the Board of Education on 5/26 for action. The purchase would happen on July 1, and we'd like that to happen as quickly as we can do that turnaround to get those materials in, because teachers like to get their hands on them as fast as we can. We do have samples and things here that they can definitely take. They do have the digital access. Still not the same as having it in your hands. So we'd like to get that for them if we can. And again, thank you to the dedicated team members. This represents the total team. I mentioned before that we've decoupled them, but these people did do all this work together all the way through to our final consensus piece, and their contributions are definitely noted. This was a lot of hours. The dedication this team brought to this, their passion, their expertise, I just really want to be noted. We're really appreciative of Chrissy and her team and these facilitators. Chrissy and Brett Hartman at the high school have been the teacher facilitators for this, and that involved meeting with CNI and creating presentations and walking teachers through. So an additional shout out to them for being willing to step up and do that extra work. Again, as you can hear from this presentation, those high quality instructional materials, we believe that this could meet this goal of our primary resources, providing them, all teachers and students, opportunity to achieve at high levels. One thing I do want to comment on before we close is when I'm talking about high levels for kids, that doesn't mean A's for everybody. That means we are going to make sure that you're at grade level or above, right? All students are getting grade level or above. So that's what we believe these materials can support our teachers in achieving. Do you have any questions for us?
All right, thank you for your presentation. I want to say I'm glad that we're still going to be utilizing all the book club work with these new books. If there are other ones that want to be implemented, would they go through the same process that we have done previously with that? Yes. Okay, and then obviously the district probably has money set aside in the budget for new curriculum each year, and so that's something that there's enough in there to cover the cost of this material.
Yes, and one thing I will also say with that, that is one of the advantages of developing that curriculum cycle, that we can budget properly for whatever phase they're in, so we know when someone's in 2B, they're set aside, instead of having constant, like, we want something, we want something, we want something, and not being able to track it. We can plan for it. So this definitely fit well within what we had put aside for this team.
Okay. And then I just wanted to say, like, I'm definitely in favor of having good curriculum because time is such a valuable resource, and I know you're saying it saves the teachers so much time when the curriculum is excellent. So I'm in favor of that. I'll ask if any of the other board members have questions or comments. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm looking at slide 17, which is the pricing. And the last time you presented, I thought those numbers were, the last time you presented, it was going to be covering 5 grades, 6 through 8, and 9 and 10. I think these are the same numbers as that, or will they be decreased because we're excluding 2 grades?
Adrian, can I have you speak to that more specifically, please?
Yes, so when we presented in March, we did not have the dollar amount. At that time was not presented, but so now we have the dollar amount associated with it, what we would need for professional development and the resources allocated to the approximate number of students per grade level. So this is just for 6th through 8th grade. So if we added 9th and 10th grade to it, it would increase the materials cost. The professional development cost from Savas would increase marginally. And then the professional development cost for the district would increase
That's kind of dependent
somewhat,
upon-
because
yeah.
the number of teachers are different. So that's like the time that it's the professional development district time is what we would do for like the professional release day or the sub-release days throughout the year. So if the teachers choose to do that, that is what we would, like if if 7th grade does want that, but 8th grade doesn't. If English 1 would want it, but English 2 doesn't. So those costs are assuming that each of the grade levels wants the sub-release days for those unit planning. The Savas cost for professional development is them to come on site, provide the training for us. And it would increase very, very slim because they're already going to be, they would already be here. They might have to provide another trainer, but it's not a lot of money for them to do that. The materials would be where the money, the cost would come in.
So the number you're seeing here too is like the highest amount for if the teachers chose the most expensive route. That's what we've kind of tried to put here. One other thing with Savas, and I don't know if I think we're able to say this, that Savas has offered us to have one of those experts in the field we mentioned come and work with our teachers directly. So we were able to survey our teachers.
Kind of a big deal.
It kind of is a big deal. So they really are. They're really like, well known in our field, right?
Yes.
Like these are our people that we geek out about.
I'm fangirling for sure.
Yes. So they were generous enough to say that they would have one of those people specifically come and work with us on one of our days, which was really exciting too.
Okay, Kelly, do you have anything? Nope, you're good. Okay, June has one more.
So does this program require that each student receive just materials each year and that they'll throw them out at the end of the year? So we always are ordering the materials
Reoccurring
for
costs.
this one?
Those are worked in to the pricing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a digital, there are digital resources also. So the students would have access to a physical consumable. It is also available online, so they would have both. One of the things, the feedback from the teachers was that they want the kids to have the stuff, that it was like the math feedback, feedback from the teachers with math was that the students are responding favorably to having an actual physical math workbook. And that was a point for the ELA teachers, is they want their students to have things to touch. So even with like the novels, it's a physical novel. I had to go back and forth a few times with our person at Savas saying like actually we're like touching this, right? Like the kids are gonna hold the novel, right? She's like, yes, it's not just digital. So so much of what they do, so our teachers have access to everything digitally that they have in print also. So it mirrors it. So if a student wants to do it digitally, they can. But then also there are, within the materials cost, there's also a digital supplemental function called Success Maker, which is like a digital tool that students can use for furthering skills, whether they are a student who is needed some extra practice or students who need extended access. And then also for teachers to be able to differentiate some learning and extend and pull from that. So there's a lot of additional features that we didn't get into tonight, but that are embedded within that total materials cost.
One other thing I want to point out to you, we do have the materials here today of all the teachers' editions. If you'd like to see more physical copies, on one of the slides, you have access to the electronic, the digital, if you would like to take a look at that as well. Just so it's there for you. I know we did a public viewing, but in case you didn't get a chance, they're here.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, well, we have reached the end of our agenda. So I will go ahead and close the meeting. It is 5:39 p.m. Thanks, everybody.